laptop power issues, I'll just go ahead and just talk to you, all the other participants who are with us now, that one of the important components of doing good research is having good information or understanding about research design or experimental design. In the past 2 days, 2.5 days, you have learned about that how important it is to kind of, pay holistic attention, not, in compartments, holistic attention towards conducting a research. When you know right from the beginning that your research design is robust, then you will get wonderful research results as such. So keeping in view that the research program has been, this particular FIP has been devised in such a manner wherein, as I told you this morning also, we are going to start with understanding the statistical tools and statistical analysis, and later get into application of statistical analysis for live scenarios or live examples, etc., etc. And how most of the time many of my researchers or many of my colleagues kind of get uh, pestered, bothered, or get uh, kind of have a rejected feeling when they say that we don't know how to do these things and all such kind of things. Or sometimes if they know also, they start saying that the statistical softwares are very costly, etc., etc. And to kind of uh, what you say, bridge that gap, we would be teaching you, especially when I would be engaging classes, we would be teaching you how we are going to use normal uh, freely available or easily available softwares that are with us, and how we are going to apply these softwares in doing uh, what you say, basic statistics to advanced statistics also. uh, One of the important things that we have to remember is what is our research hypothesis, what is our statistical hypothesis, and how we are going to test. When we say hypothesis, you need to have a research hypothesis saying that, okay, I know about a cancer drug and I want to work on this particular drug. So I want to know which concentration gives me the most efficient result. So I have to plan all these things right in the beginning. I cannot be saying that, okay, I will go conduct the experiment and then start thinking how I have to do the analysis. So, so all those things would be, kind of, are packaged into the program. So I hope that, these couple of days you are going to get some kind of learning, and also develop some kind of skills, interest in taking up statistical analysis seriously. So I'm waiting for Dr. Bhatra. Dr. Bhatra has just yeah, he disconnected himself and maybe he's going to join again. Just give me a second. I'm switching off my microphone so that I can speak to Dr. Bhatt. Yeah, welcome back, Dr. Bhatra Charyulu. We'll start the session, sir, with your permission. On behalf of the UGC-HRDC, Osmania University, uh, the director of the UGC-HRDC, Professor B. Sri Nagesh, and the Assistant Director, Dr. C.H. Venkateshwarlu, and on my personal behalf, I welcome you to this particular faculty improvement program on research projects and research design in sciences. And I was just talking to my participants about how exactly it is important to do the data analysis. And that is where, whenever we talk about data analysis or anything like that, we start thinking about statistics. And when we start thinking about statistics, we always end up thinking about Dr. N.C.H. Bhattacharyalu. I will just give a brief introduction to Dr. Bhatra Charyulu, who is today's resource person, and he is going to be the resource person for, I'm sorry, for this particular session as well as for the next session. So I'll just take little time to introduce him. Dr. Bhatra Charyulu is a kind of, total product of Osmania University. I see that he has done his master's course in statistics as well as MPhil in statistics and PGDCP in statistics and PhD in statistics from the Osmania University. And he joined the university along with many of us in 1997. I'm sorry, 2007, and he had been teaching right from 1995 onwards. He has published 70 research articles, and he has presented more than 50 research papers. He has guided 6 PhDs and 3 MPhil students from the statistics, and he has already executed one major research project worth more than 10 lakhs, and currently he is also executing one big research project on data science and application of various techniques for data science analysis for diagnosis of diseases under the MHRD RUSA project that we are running. Uh, he was the deputy coordinator for UGC DRS SAP phase 1, and currently he is also the deputy coordinator for phase 2. He has organized 2 open house exhibitions on statistics and 1 national conference on statistics. He is, as you have seen, that he has already published lots of paper, and he is also one of the editorial board member of International Journal for Bulletin of Pure and Applied Sciences, section E, specially dedicated for mathematics and statistics. He is the co-author of a monograph titled Supersaturated Design Construction and Response Surface Design Model Reduction. And he is also one of the contributory author for BSc Statistics first and second year textbooks published by Himalaya Publications. He is a member of many committees, including the departmental committee of the statistics, departmental research committee, and he worked as the in many administrative posts, including the being the hostel warden and also as assistant controller of examinations at the examination branch, both in the confidential section as well as the EDP section. Dr. Bhattacharyalu was one of the instrumental individuals who was responsible for introduction of online encrypted question paper distribution to examination centers, and he was also very instrumental in formulating the CGPA evaluation system as well as online application for certificate at Osmania University. He is well-known figure. He has been delivering lectures. He has delivered lectures in the fields of statistics, computer science, mathematics, and to his credit, he has more than 100 such lectures in various fora, including seminars, faculty development programs, symposia, national workshops, national conferences, etc., organized by many well-reputed institution, both within
Sir, please unmute, sir.
హలో శ్రీనివాస్ సార్
yes.
మీది మ్యూట్ అయిపోయింది మీరు చెప్పింది ఏమి వినపడలేదు లాస్ట్లో సార్
Okay, since when it was muted, I don't know when it got muted.
జస్ట్ 1 minute
Right from the
ఓకే
beginning?
ఓకే నో ప్రాబ్లం అట్
No,
నో
no, no.
నాట్ బిగినింగ్ అట్
Uh-huh.
ది జస్ట్ లాస్ట్ ఓకే
Last one. Yeah, just can you tell me last sentence that you have heard about yourself?
నో అట్ ది ఎండ్ పార్ట్ ఓన్లీ జస్ట్ 1 minute
Yeah, yeah. I'll just
10-15
I'll
seconds
just
back
try to cover it up, and
ఓకే
I'll
నో
saying that
ప్రాబ్లం
uh, your what do you say? Yeah, your biodata. I have read it. I hope that is clear.
ఎస్
Yeah, and what I was just saying is that the last part. I think I was telling you that the session 3 is up to 3:30, and
ఓకే
we'll have 10 to 12 minutes break, and then at 3:45 we'll start the next session, sir. So you have two
సో
talks
10
delivered.
3:15 up to that that I have to stop and I have to give the time for the questionnaire.
Yes, 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 yes. That would
So
be great.
3:15 to 3:30 that questionnaire period, then 15 minutes break, then 3:45 again that I have to start.
Yes, yes, sir. That's the
Okay,
program.
thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. The mic is yours.
Good morning to the respected the participants. Uh, so sorry the given a prolonged introduction about me. Now that I'm going to give my talk on the two parts actually. That is, one is statistical techniques that are used for the statistical analysis, and the major focus on the second part, that are the statistical tests. So what are the various statistical tests that you are going to use for the analysis? Now, uh, so I think all of you are full aware about the research. Now, here major the content that what I am stressing on the research, because the research, the definition and the process or research methodology is entirely is only a statistical process. So the statistical process is nothing but almost a research methodology. So that's why even when we are coming to the statistics part, the definition of the statistics and the research. So both research methodology, the definitions are seems to be same. That also that I will focus on the same part at here. Now, so here I'm focusing the initial parts that you already, the most of them, because you're spending more time on the research, because all most of them are the faculty members only. So what do you mean by a research, and what is the statistics? So the definition that you can compare the research and statistics, and how these two are related, and the motivation to research, and what are the various steps that are involved in the research process, that what you have to examine, which is indicating a statistical process. So statistical process and research process both will be the same, and objective of the research, and the criteria for the good research, and different types of the research, and design of the research project, and research and scientific method, and research methods and research methodology. And the later that I'm concentrating on the statistical tests for used for the analysis of the data that what you are gathering it. Now, coming to the research will comprises defining and redefining problems, formulating hypotheses, suggested solutions, collecting, organizing, and evaluating data, making deductions and conclusions. That means drawing the inferences and deducing. This is making deductions means we are deducing the parts from the whatever the information that you are collecting, and based upon the hypothesis that you are forming, and whatever the techniques that are used for solving or computing those by using some evaluation process, and also the testing the conclusions to determine whether they fit the formulating hypothesis or not. So this is entirely is generally the general definition to a research. So it comprises defining and redefining. So originally that you are having one definition. So whatever the topic that you are handling for the research. So first you are starting with one pinpoint. That point that is started with a definition. We are concentrating about the definition. What are the words that are comprised that are uh, forming that particular definition, and each and every word, and what are the deducing words, and based upon that we are deriving the properties from the definition. So that means everything is coming from only the definition part. That's why we are defining and redefining it. So whatever the properties are, suppose we are identifying a new one, then we are trying to redefine the same the word that we are specifying it. And formulating hypothesis, whenever we are redefining, we are whether shall we have to include that particular property or not, is it exactly that property or you can deduce or not, that also you have to prove it. For that first you are forming some hypothesis, and again later that you have to collect some information to prove or to disprove that statement that what you have specified it. And finally we are concluding it whether it is a deducing property or not. So that is also that conclusion. So this entire process of the evaluation is there, and testing is also involved in that. So whenever you are doing any of the research, any of the scientific field, so initially that you are having one statement or one the hypothesis. Generally we are calling in a statistically we are calling as statistical hypothesis. Any statement which we can classify into either true or false category, it is generally said to be a hypothesis. But that statement is on the population, not only based upon a sample of information that what you have collected, because that is on the total population, not limited to confined to the data that what you have collected. And whatever the statement on the total population or its probability distribution, and that statement we have to is must be classified into either true or false category. Then only are saying that it is a hypothesis. And to prove or to disprove that statement, we are collecting some information. So whatever the information that means related to the statement, we have to gather the total information about that. And then we are evaluating the information that you are gathered by using some techniques. So we may calculate the arithmetic mean or median or some the statistical test, t-test or f-test or chi-square test or multivariate analysis techniques, or we are computing some probability distributions, or it may be uh, some other the statistical techniques of the advanced or the basic part. And ultimately after that we are evaluating and we are getting some values, and based upon these values we have to judge. That means we have to draw some conclusion whether the hypothesis is correct or wrong. So if it is correct, we have to accept it. Otherwise, we are rejecting it. So that is entirely a test procedure that what you are going to use. That is called a statistical test procedure. So now if you are going to switching over to the statistics part, the definition. The statistics is a scientific method of collection. This is the definition for a statistics. That means we have to collect the information. So what information that you have to collect? Because we are having some the statement which is to be proved or to be disproved. For proving or to disproving, for that the related the total information that you are gathering it, and we are arranging that in a particular fashion. We are arranging, that is organizing the data, and we are trying to analyze, and we are interpreting in a meaningful way, and we are presenting the data, and we are evaluating some values for that, and we are drawing some inference on that data. So this entire is the general definition for a statistics. So there are the same that what we are defining in the research. So research refers to a systematic method consisting of enunciating the problem, formulating a hypothesis, collecting the facts or data, analyzing the facts, and reaching certain conclusions, either in the form of solutions towards the concerned problem or in certain generalizations for some theoretical formulation. So that I think that you can understand the similarity between the definition of the statistics to definition to the research. Now, generally what outline, there are many quotations are there on the research. So research is an original contribution to the existing stock of knowledge, making for its advancement. So we are already having some knowledge, or some theory is developed, or some method is developed, and now we are making our contribution to the existing one. It may be some epsilon quantity, a negligible quantity, but the negligible, that whatever the delta part may be increased it. So by person to the person, so many the negligible quantities which will gives a huge quantity. And research is much concerned with a proper fact finding, analysis, and evaluation. So a research scholar has to work as a judge and has to derive the truth, and not as a pleader who is only eager to prove his case in favor of his plaintiff. So here we have to think about the merits and also the demerits. So the both that you have to identify as a scholar. So what is the motivation to the research? The possible motives for doing the research may be either one or more of the following: desire to get a research degree along with its consequential benefits. So whatever the degree that you are obtaining, either it may be some master of philosopher, or it may be a doctor of philosopher, or it may be a postdoctoral. So it depends upon that. And desire to face challenges in solving unsolved problems. What are they challenging and which are useful to the society, and that you have to identify, and we are making an attempt on that. So it may be proved or it may be disproved, or you may be failing. So why we are failing, that is also a part of the research. So if you are going or going in this particular methodology, it is we cannot succeed. So that also you can give a conclusion part. So either it may be approved or to disproving, both will be the research parts. Desire to get intellectual joy of doing some creative work. So without the creativity, it will not shine. And not only developing all already which is the existed one, we have to develop in a new orientation. So that is a creative knowledge, that is one of the most important part. And desire to be service to the society, and desire to get the respectability. So based upon the research, we are getting the more respective. And the major steps that we are using in the research process, which are automatically involved in the definition of the research itself. So formulating the research problem, that means we are facing one problem first. Now whether it is the statement that what you have specified, whether it may be correct or it may be not correct. So first you are having one statement, and now that based upon that we have to formulate the hypothesis. And extensive literature survey, so related to the problem, generally we are collecting the total information on that. So what are the various methods that are existing, and who are attempted on that particular problem, and collecting the total literature survey on that. What are the various methods related to that statement of the problem, either in the definitions aspect, or in the methods, or the theory that is developed, or in any of the other aspects. So in the theoretical and practical in both orientations. And what are the merits and demerits. So those are also that we are mainly concentrating in the extensive literature survey. And based upon the survey that we are developing the objective. So based upon the statement, now we are creating the what is the task, final task that you are fixing now. Because already that you are acquiring some knowledge about the statement of the problem based upon the literature, then you create the objectives. So what are the various tasks? So meanwhile that you are in resolving the problem and preparing the research design. So research design is one of the uh, most important part, and that is called a planning. So the planning and the how to execute, or the experimental design, this is almost the part that is involved in this part. And determining the sample design and execution of the project. So whenever you want to uh, well, I want to collect the information, how to collect. So from where the sample that you have to collect, and what is the total information, where it is available. Based upon that, that you are giving a perfect planning, that is entire in the part of the research design and the sample design. So what is the total population, and based upon that, that I'm gathering some selective parts, such a that is a sample design, and we are collecting the information, and we are trying to analyze based upon the techniques that what you are going to use, various techniques. It may be a statistical techniques, or it may be your own techniques of your subjects. So because each and every research process, suppose if it is a chemical process, so you are having one your the analysis strategy, or if it is a microbiology, or if it is a genetical. So you are having its own process, or the life sciences or mathematical sciences. So depends upon the analysis that you are going it. And I am not saying that only it is a statistical process. So in this part analysis, each subject is having its own the procedures. And testing of the hypothesis, that means null hypothesis or alternative hypothesis that you are trying to frame, and we are giving some generalizations, and we are interpreting based upon the whatever the values that you are obtaining to prove or to disprove or to accept or reject the hypothesis that is framed. And we are finally we are preparing a report and presenting the result. So whenever you are preparing the report, so it must be, we have to prove based upon the entire part. So we are collected this information, and this is the hypothesis. So is it the total information available or not, and what are the techniques that you are going to use? Is the techniques are valid for proving that particular hypothesis or not? That, and based upon that we are proving the given statement or disproving the given statement, and finally you are concluding it. So this is entirely the general research process, not only in statistics that what you are going to use. The statistical process is also the same approach, but the problem to the problem it will change, or subject to the subject, the small changes with the minor modifications. The same research process that what you are going to use: define the research problem, the review of the literature, review of the concepts and the theories, and review of the previous the research findings, and based upon that we are formulating the hypothesis, and we are designing, that means we are redefining whatever the hypothesis that you are forming, and including the sample design. And later, once that is sample design is framed, then we are collecting the data by executing the sample design, and we are analyzing the data based upon some statistical tests or statistical techniques, and finally we are concluding and we are interpreting and writing the report. So this is entirely is a research process. Even what we are doing in the statistics, we are having some statement and we are collecting the information. Let's suppose a simple statement. If I am considering the rating of the Osmania University is some value. So this is a 8th grade or 9th grade or whatever the grading that you are specifying, A plus grade or A. Now, based on how we are defining it, is it worthy or not, that I want to test it. Now, for that, generally, we are collecting the total information about that. What are the members who are obtained the degree from this university, and what are the opportunities they are getting it in the market, what are their placement values, and what are the knowledge that you are having it, and all the total information that you are gathering, not only present studying, the outgoing batches, and in the present market, the total information that you have to gather it. Hello. I will speak the తర్వాత మాట్లాడతాను. Sorry for this, friends. Now, the research problem. The research problem is a problem or a difficulty faced by an individual or a group, and uh, it must have some objectives to be attained. It must be alternative means for obtaining the objectives one wishes to attain. And am I audible or not? Is it visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello? So the research problem must have some objective to be attained, and it must be alternative means for obtaining the objectives one wishes to attain. It must remain some doubt in the mind of the researcher with regard to the selection of the various alternatives that are existing it. It must have some environments to which the difficulty pertains. Now, the research design. So in the research design, we are trying to attempt on the various aspects. What is the study about? And what is the study being made? Where will the study be carried out? What type of data is required for that? Where can the required data can be found? And what periods of time will the study is to be included for collection of the data? And what will be the sample design or a sample methodology or a sample survey technique, and what technique of data collection will be used. So shall we have to conduct in a various type of the data, nominal data or ordinal data or an interval data or ratio scale of the data, or whatever the technique of simple random sampling technique or stratified random sampling technique, or any other technique that you have to implement for collecting of the information. How will the data be analyzed? In what style will the report be prepared? So these are the major problems that we are attempting in designing the research. And the criteria for a good research is the statement of the research problem should be clearly defined. The research procedure or methodology used should be described in sufficient detail to permit another researcher to repeat the research for further advancement, keeping the continuity of what has already been attained. It should be carefully planned to yield results that has meet the solution to the objectives as possible. Because if you are not in a position to extend the work, there is no use. So whatever the advancement, there must be some scope. Otherwise, it will not give a fruitful result. And we cannot, it is not a research. And researcher should report with complete frankness flaws in procedural design. So must be very frank, either whatever the hypothesis that you are drawing, whether it may be accepted or rejected. So we must be in a position to judge exactly and has to estimate their effects upon the findings. The analysis of data should be sufficiently adequate to reveal its significance, and the methods of analysis used should be appropriate. The conclusions should be confined to those justified by the data of the research and limited. The greater confidence in research is warranted if the researcher is experienced, has a good reputation in research, is a person of integrity. Now, what is a research report should contain? The research report is containing major is origination and motivation of the research problem. What is the historical development? Identification and of challenges or drawbacks, framing the hypothesis or objectives, and what is the national and international significance of the research problem. So if there is no significance, then there is no need to attempt that particular problem. And is it worthy or not? That is what is indicating the national international significance, and what is its contribution to the society, that problem of attempting. And research methodology, what approach that you are going to use for resolving that particular problem, or method that you are going to implement. So that what you are defining in the methodology, and implementation of existed methods and solution to the problem, uh, and the future directions. So these are the major uh, statement that you are attempting in any of the research report. And also we are having a proper planning for the research. So we are having some fixed time targets. Let's suppose I have taken, this is only the example that I'm specifying it. I'm having a 3 years work process that I have placed it. Suppose in the say first 6 months. So what is the procedure? Uh, what are the literature that is there that I'm having it? And so collecting of the literature, and simultaneously the whatever the literature that you are collecting, and you are studying that literature and trying to implement by using, so experimentally for proving or disproving the existed study first of all, not going for a new one. So we are already having some statement, and there is some procedure to prove or to disprove, then you test it that based upon that. And we are testing the existed ones, and we are developing, and we are trying to identifying what are the merits or demerits. So we are identifying it, and what are the various methods for the same problem solvation, why the procedure is deviating it. So due to deviation, what changes in the conclusions that are getting it. So all that you are observing simultaneously, and then we are trying to derive a new type of the approach, and simultaneously we are trying to some presenting the same thing at different places, and going for the discussions with the various other members of scientific group. And also we are uh, concluding, and we are publishing the same work, and confirming whether the process is correct or not. And later that you are preparing the final reports, and we are submitting. So this is entirely the general the work plan based upon the period, and what are the strategies, steps that you are going to use. This is the plan of the work and targets to be achieved, that you are going in one of the particular direction. So time duration, and that just it is only a small example model that I am placing it. Whenever you want to write any of the research reports. And skills developed due to the research, all progress is born of inquiry. Doubt is often better than overconfidence, for it leads to inquiry, and inquiry leads to invention. If you are not getting any of the doubts, then you are not thinking, and that is almost treating that it is a overconfidence. But it means you are neglecting that part. So you are not concentrating on that particular the whatever the concept, and increase the amounts of research make progress possible. And research inculcates the scientific and inductive thinking, and it promotes the development of logical habits of thinking and organization. The research provides the basis for nearly all government policies in our economic system. The discussions with colleagues and experts about the problem, its origination, and the objectives in seeking a solution. Examination of data and records, if available, concerning the problem for possible trends, peculiarities, and other clues. The review of similar studies in the area of the studies on the similar problems. The exploratory personal investigation, which involves original field interviews on a limited scale with interested parties and individuals with a view to secure greater insight to the practical aspects of the problem. The research has its special significance in solving various operational and planning problems of business and industry. Research is equally important for social scientists in studying the social relationships and in seeking answers to the various social problems. Now, what you are learning from the research, the understanding the problem statement and habit of continuous reading, that means every researcher will automatically having this part. So he can understand any of the problem that is given, and he is having a habit of continuous reading and depth of study in the problem. Whatever the problem is given, he is trying to identify what is the most important basic concept in that. So depth of the study that is going, and so from that part only he will start any problem that is given. Either it may be not only to his particular research area, any of the general problem also, he is having that type of the thinking power. So the thinking power is understanding any of the problem statement and problem of the study of that particular problem, collecting of the information about that, and whatever the depth study of the problem, and is trying to collect the total information and giving in a different type of the critics on that and updating the knowledge day to day on that and implementation of the existing methods and searching for challenges and issues. So all these concepts will be learned by any of the researcher. Either it may be a scientific researcher or a social researcher or any of the area. So he will generally concentrating on all these parts of the any of the problem in the and research approach. So generally we are going in the research approach is two orientations, that one is the quantitative approach and other one is a qualitative approach. The quantitative involves the generation of data in quantitative form, that means in terms of the figures, which is can be subjected to rigorous quantitative analysis in the formal and rigid fashion. So whenever whatever the information that we are gathering, we are trying to quantify. So once that is measured in terms of the numbers or figures, then we are going for some specific statistical techniques or mathematical techniques, and we are interpreting those, and we are taking some decisions on that particular part. So that is entirely in the part of the quantitative research. Whereas in the qualitative research, or the entire approach will be different. So in the qualitative, which we cannot, it is not possible to give in terms of the figures, but just like I'm giving a grading type. So whether it is a 0 to zero point 0.5 scaling or 0 to 10 scaling, like I'm collecting bad or good or excellent, like one type of the scaling that you are forming it. It is a qualitative manner. And suppose if I'm taking the information about the gender, so whether the gender male or female, so which is entirely is a nominal scale, so which is a categorical information. Suppose if I'm collecting the information about the age, so age in the years, 10 years, 10 years, 10 months, or 15 years, or 50 years, or 60 years, or or 3 years, like whatever the wage value that we can express in an interval scale. So 0 to 100 years, like that. So which is an interval scale. So nominal scale. Suppose in some cases that I'm giving a grading, the candidate is F grade, some C grade, B grade, A grade, A plus grade, or excellent O. So this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 scaling that type that I'm giving it, which is also an ordinal scale. So that means we are also having the data, and whether it is a qualitative data also, we are trying to express in terms of the figures for the further analysis in the statistics. So the qualitative and quantitative, the approaches are, the quantitative research is based on the measurement of quantity of or amount. It is applicable to phenomena that can be expressed in terms of quantity, and qualitative research on the other hand is concerned with the qualitative phenomenon, that is phenomena relating to or involving quality or kind. So this is the general what the term stressing on the part. And to those students who are writing the master's or PhD thesis, the research may mean the charism or a way to attain a high position in the social structure. So that is a social structure that you are getting the name based upon the uh, way of the knowledge that what you are acquiring. And what are the major problems encountered by the researchers in India? The lack of the scientific training in the research methodology of the research. There is an insufficient interaction between the university research departments on one side and business and establishments, government departments, and research institutes on the other side. The most of the business units in our country do not have the confidence that the material is supplied by them to researcher will not be misused. As such, they are often reluctant in supplying the need information to the researchers. Research studies overlapping one another are undertaken quite often for want of adequate information. There does not exist a code of conduct for researchers, and inter-university and interdepartmental rivalries are also quite common. Many researchers in our country also face the difficulty of adequate and timely secretarial assistance, including the computer software assistance. So this is also one of the major problem that what the Indian researchers are facing it. There may at times take place the problem of the conceptualization and also problems relating to the process of data collection and relating things. The library management and functioning is not satisfactory at many places, and much of the time and energy of the researchers are spent in tracing out the books, journals, reports, etc., rather than in tracing out relevant material from them. So this is one of the major problem that what we are facing it. And there is also a problem that many of our libraries are not able to get copies of old or new acts or rules or reports and other government publications in time. There is also a difficulty in timely available of the published data from various government and other agencies doing this job in our country. So which will take a lot of time for publishing. So by the time, so already 2 years or 3 years, we are analyzing the data for the last 10 years back data or 2 years back data, like that. Not we are trying to evaluate the current data and uh, trying to go for the conclusions for the current information. So that is one of the problem. So once the problem is arised, then only we are trying to react. So, but we have to react before that. That is in advance. The guidelines and early and worthy completion of the research work. Beat your deadline. We have to people who do things for you. Try to know other people's research. Go for complete literature survey. Write daily report and try to expose yourself in research, and time goes faster than you think. So these are the major uh, that what you are going to use in the research aspect. Now, the what are the various the statistical the procedures that you are going to use. Now, the statistical techniques are all most of them that you are already familiar. The graphical and presentations of the data, and counting the frequencies, and computing the central tendencies like arithmetic mean, median, mode, geometric mean, harmonic mean, or the progressive averages, etc. And computing the measures of dispersions like range, quartile deviation, mean deviation, variance, standard deviation, etc. And we are computing various other the statistical values like moments, central moments, non-central moments. So first order, second order, and third order, and fourth order, and so on. And we are computing the moments, skewness, and kurtosis, and also the correlation coefficient and the covariance concept, and maybe some Carl Pearson's coefficient of correlation, or it may be Scatter's diagram, or it may be Spearman's rank correlation coefficient. And there are some statistical technique of fitting of the statistical models, like it may be a regression model, maybe a simple linear regression, or multiple linear regression, or it may be a non-linear regression, or a logistic regression, or a logit model, or a probit model, etc. Or it may be some probability distribution model fitting, like maybe binomial or Poisson or negative binomial, or normality or exponential, or log normal, or it's so there are various other the probability distributions, or you can apply the various statistical tests like normal tests called Z tests, and T tests, F test, and chi-square tests. So these are all the various statistical techniques that you are going to use. Now, in the research methodology, we are mainly concentrating about the same aspect. So sequence of interdependent and linked procedures used at every stage and used to collect the information and data for the purpose of making decisions. It includes both present and historical information. The information may be published or unpublished research work, or it may be getting from the interviews or surveys or other the research techniques. Now, so related to the part of the statistics, now I'm defining the any of the research problem that you are want to collect the information or framing the hypothesis. Initially, that I'm defining the term called the population. Population means the collection of entire information about the problem under study or the character under study. That means about which statement or about which part or hypothesis that you are framing related to that, the total information that you have to gather. What are the influencing characters for that? Related to all those that you have to collect it. That is called a population. Suppose I want to study the grading of the Osmania University, not only the present students and their marks. So, what are the various other influencing factors are there for giving the grading? So, whatever the infrastructure, the facilities, and the knowledge that is acquired, and how they are placing, what are their status in the market, and all those are also that you have to gather it, and which is also reflecting the image of the university. So, whatever the problem that you are studying, it related to that, the total information that you have to gather. That's why it is called the collection of entire information about the character under study is called a population. Now, in that population, what are the total observations that are existing? It may be some infinite. How many students are there or produced by the university? Maybe lakhs. So it is very difficult to collect each and every one. So which is very huge. So that is called a population size, which is maybe very large. And parameter. Parameter is whatever the population is there, on that is the total information that you have collected. On that, there whatever the values that you are evaluating, like suppose if you are taking the marks of the students, marks of the students from beginning to now, all the students, all the marks that you have gathered, and you are trying to evaluate the average value, that is called one parameter. So parameter is a population constant, any value that you have evaluated for the population observations, whatever the variable under study, that is comes under the part of the parameter. And we are defining the parameter uh, from the topic to the topic is like the in biological science or chemical or microbiology or in other subjects. Also, you are using the term called parameter. That parameter and this parameter is a slightly different. So here I am defining a statistical parameter. Now I'm defining a sample. Sample is a finite subset of the population, a finite subset, because the population is very huge. We cannot, it is very difficult to collect the total information. Then we are collecting a piece of part of that. That is called a sample. Let's suppose if you are taking the, when you are preparing the food, whether it is properly cooked or not, we are not taking each and every grain. So how many grains are there? The thousands of the grains. But it is very difficult to take each and every one and pressing it and to take the judge. So we are taking randomly the top five, or we are taking from the middle and two or three grains, and by pressing it, and we are drawing one inference whether it is properly cooked or not. So a finite subset of the population is called a sample. What is the sample size? Sample size is the how many sample observation that you have collected. I taken only two or three grains from the entire lot. So this is three is called the sample size. So it is not because whenever you are going for now the COVID, they are going for the clinical trials and they are testing not in each and every one. So they are taking the different type of the patients, and whether those who are coming forward with some particular the properties, those who are satisfying, and they are testing it. So that is a sample size, and this is drawing major inference for the entire, even for the lakhs and crores of the population. So that is also will satisfy it. So what are the drawbacks or merits or demerits? All those they will specify in that part. Whether that is applicable, that particular drug to this type of the patients or not. So that is also involved in the. So sample size is a limited, which is a finite. This is must be finite. Population may be infinite. And statistic. Statistic is a sample constant. So whatever the sample observation that you have collected, and for the sample observations, we have calculated some values like mean or variance or some other value. So those are called statistic, a sample statistic. Okay. And how to collect the data? So collection of the data, there are different type of the approaches that you are using. We are using the uh, primary data and secondary data. So primary data, which is collecting directly from the field, and the secondary data, which is already published in various journals or some places in the records, and that we are going to use for this one. And also you are preparing a questionnaire whenever you want to collect the data primarily. So formation of the questionnaire is one of the most important part. And what are your objectives of the study, and what are the various tasks or objectives for each of the objective? What are the influencing factors? For knowing about the influencing factor, what are the questions that you have to form it? And we are trying to asking those questions, either maybe qualitative information or it may be some quantitative information. So questionnaire is one of the most important part in the collection of the data. So if anything problem is there in questionnaire, that is formation of the question, in collecting of the data, so entire data will be wasted. And because we have to identify what are the most influencing factors for the statement that is given to prove or to disprove. Related to that, all that you have to identify and to be covered in the questionnaire. Either it may be qualitative or quantitative. And then we are going for a sample design. Sample design means how to collect the sample observations, and for that we are using various sampling methods: simple random sampling, stratified random sampling, systematic sampling, cluster sampling, multi-stage sampling. So I am selecting by using a lottery technique from overall, or I am dividing the population into different groups based upon some particular criteria, and from each part that I am selecting some values randomly, which is called a stratified random sampling or a systematic sampling. So I'm having some the observations of the population. I'm giving numbering for that, and selecting the numbers, a particular numbers sequentially. Let's suppose I want to conduct an exit poll. Now I want to collect from a particular person, the person, whether he will win if he contested or not. So for that, I am conducting one of the survey by forming some questionnaire. So now I want to go for survey in a particular village. So I am selecting out of the total mandal or the constituency, the sum of the villages randomly that you have to select it. So that is also distributed equally. And in these villages also, that have to select not each and every household of those villages, randomly some of the members or houses. And in those houses also, I am not asking the from each and every member, a particular household member only. So that means there are different stages are there in collecting of the information. So this is entirely that what you are applying from the method to the method, it will be different. So it depends upon the task that you are going for these methods. And suppose systematic method, I am giving, suppose in this particular village, there are 100 villages are there. Now I have to select only 5 villages from this. Then you select the one village number, some 2. Then next you select 22, and the next you select some 42, and 52, sorry, 62 and 82, so that you are selecting some 5 members. So this is called, that means that is following a systematic the number. So that is a systematic approach. That what generally even the exit polls also they are doing it. And cluster sampling. Instead of that, I'm dividing the area into different groups. So low income, high income, and moderate income, like that. I'm taking one of the particular group and collecting the information from that locality. So it may be a cluster. That is depends upon the problem that you have to choose these methods, not all in all the situations. And mostly that you are applying is a simple random sampling or multi-stage sampling. Multi-stage sampling is stage-wise that you are applying it. Now I want to take one, I want to whether a particular party, how many seats will win. I'm not taking each and every constituency. So I'm taking some overall. So some of the constituencies randomly. And in these constituencies also that I'm not taking the all the uh, villages, only some. So stage wise, I'm sorting some of these and the next villages in that again households. In the village household also household member that I'm selecting randomly. Maybe 2 stages or maybe 3 stages or 4 stages, depends upon the problem that you are having in hand. Okay. And whenever you are collecting the data is also, the data may be nominal scale or ordinal scale or interval scale or ratio scale. Nominal information, that means I'm dividing, that means there is no category like it is a, we are dividing the data into based upon the gender. That means male female group. So that means there is no priorities about the grouping. So we are having some particular name for that, that's all. I'm giving A group, B group, C group. I'm dividing the total classes into randomly into 4 groups: A group, B group, C group, D group. But I'm not saying that A group is superior than B group or B is superior than C or like that. So based upon the names that I'm dividing it, that is called a nominal. Based upon only the naming is there, the difference in the groups. Ordinal data. Ordinal data is there is some order. So low grade, high grade, next higher grade, and next higher grade, and so on that you are placing it. Like uh, A grade student, A plus grade, and O grade, or B grade and C grade or D grade, which is a very lowest. Like that, there is a grading. First ranker, second ranker, third ranker, fourth ranker. So ranking that I'm giving it. But what are the marks that are getting by them? I do not know. So first ranker may get 99 marks. Second ranker may get 70 marks. Maybe a lot of difference. The difference is ignored. Only I'm giving the ranking. So that type of the ordering is ordinal data. And interval data, I'm measuring the values exactly quantitatively on a particular range of the values, 0 to 100. It may take any value in decimals also. So 2.3, 2.75 or 10.5, like any value it can take. So 0 minus infinity to plus infinity. So that type of the data is comes under the part of interval scale. And the ratio scale. So ratio scale is this is in the form of almost 0 to 1 grade. I'm giving some proportionate values. So proportion value. So like 75% means out of 100, 75. That means 0.75. That is also a ratio scale. And suppose 25% means out of 100, 25. That is also called a ratio scale. So most of the percentages that what I am explaining are the probabilities that you are telling. Those are also comes under the ratio scales. Let's suppose if you are saying that that the wall or black, the board is black, how much black it is? Is it pure black? So that I'm giving a clarity about that. Now suppose if it is white, it is how much white it is. Is it a milky white, or the clarity about the defining of the white also? I'm giving the grading for that. Let's suppose I'm drawing a circle. How much it is a circle? Can you draw a circle with exactly a circle? It is with a free hand, it is very difficult. It seems to be a circle, but not an exact circle. Then we have to question how much it is a circle. Then 75% or 80%, 90%. So that is also type of the ratio scaling that is called actually fuzzy values, fuzzy uncertainty, that what you are defining it. Okay. So these are the 4 different type of the scales. And also we are going to use the various other topics. Now I will give a break, and first you ask the doubts about this part, then I will go for the next one. Okay. Please, hello. Please, all of you, if you are having any of the doubts up to the part, first I will clarify, because already it is 3:20. Your participants, are you following or not? Any questions? No? Hello? Any questions? Please unmute and talk. Okay. So any doubt? No doubts?
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Good
Sir,
afternoon.
in chemistry, we come across graphs or certain bar diagrams.
Yes,
And
that's what I'm going to start now actually. Bar diagram, statistical tests also that I'm covering.
tighter values like that. The data comes under which one, sir? Either uh, we take the
Finally,
experimental data, okay,
yeah, that data is interval scale.
interval scale.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. In the next session, you are going to talk about origin and okay, sir. Thank you.
So what are the various graphs and statistical tests, various statistical tests and statistical hypothesis and procedure.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So any more?
Hello, sir.
Sir.
Sir. What is the difference between mean and arithmetic mean?
Mean and arithmetic mean are same. We are full name is arithmetic mean. We are calling as simply as mean. Full name is arithmetic mean.
There is.
But instead of calling arithmetic mean, we are simply calling as mean. Hello?
Sir. I heard that there is somewhat difference.
What is the difference? What you heard?
I don't know actually, but someone said that.
There is no difference. Actually, the mean is the only, instead of calling the full name, that you are calling as last part.
Mean. Oh.
Mean. But actually, there is a harmonic mean and geometric mean are also there.
Yes,
But
sir.
only arithmetic mean is only called mean. So if it is called specifically arithmetic mean, actually full name, but most of them, instead of calling in many of the books also, simply they will write as mean. Sum of the observations by number of observations.
Okay,
So which is a measure of central location or measure of central tendency. Okay.
Okay. Sir.
Any more?
Sir, in next section, are you going to cover The confidence
Statistic
interval
test.
and the
Yes.
significance, all these things.
Yes, sir.
So please cover those are very helpful for me, sir.
Statistical test that I'm going to cover TF chi-square test
Yes, sir.
and parametric and non-parametric tests. So those are also that I'm going to cover.
Yeah, thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Any more? Okay. So we'll join by short time. Any more questions are there that I will clarify? And now the time is almost another 5 minutes that is left over for 3:30. Okay. So we'll join on 3:45. Okay. Sharp. Another 10 minutes. Sir is there? Srinivasa sir?
Hello. Hello.
Hello sir. I'm giving a break now. Sir, shall I have to continue? Sir, shall I have to continue? Or shall I have to give the break? Sir,
Hello, sir.
shall I have to continue or shall I have to give the break? Hello? Hello
Sirji.
sir.
Hello, sir. Yeah, tell me.
Shall I have to give the break or shall I have to continue?
Sir, give them a break. Give
Okay.
them. You can also have a glass of water and some tea, and then come back, because
Okay, sir.
obviously it is going to be tedious for you as well as for them. So
Okay.
it's like 3:30 now. So
Yeah.
we'll start by 3:45. Yeah.
Okay, sir.